Welcome back, America. Stephen A. Smith. So could you see yourself seeing what you see now? And obviously Donald Trump can't run for president again, but if he could, under the current circumstances, could you see yourself voting for him?
Quite possibly. I'm not going to sit up there and dismiss that anymore. I think we're beyond that. He would have to prove a lot, Mark. And I'm not talking about policy now. For a second, allow me to say this.
Did I tell you or did I not tell you? I'm telling you right now, this man went in there and pulled the lever or pushed the button for Trump. He's distancing himself further and further from it. There are people out there saying he's a fraud and everything else, that he's probably trying to, move his way into getting a television show or something. But there's something up with Stephen A. For him even to come on TV and say this, especially on Mark Levin's show.
What concerned me about Donald Trump and the reason I voted against him and voted for Kamala Harris was because I felt that he would be divisive, that he would create chaos because he demands such a level of loyalty and fealty to him. And that would take priority over governing our nation. That was my concern. And so I'm looking for both sides to work across the aisle from one another. Having said that, when you see some of the things that he said, if he follows through on some of the things that he has said, it's not just about eradicating inflation, improving the economy, obviously controlling our borders. These are all things that I care about, make no mistake about that, and I certainly would support him in that regard. But it can't be just about fealty to him and loyalty to him.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it can be. So that's the hill that you need to die on, Stephen A., is that people, you just said, if he does this and if he does that, it shouldn't just be about loyalty. Well, if he does what he said he's going to do, why would you look for anybody else? And at the same time, and the reason I'm showing him is that he has a huge black audience. And so he's realizing right now, a lot of my audience has gone to Donald Trump. Don't think for an instant that there's not something behind what he's doing. Stephen A. makes a lot of money. And he's seeing right now that a large swath of his audience went over here. Or rather, to the right. And so what do you do to make sure that those people that you're talking to keep watching you on your sports channel? Well, you got to get out there and let them know, yeah, I can see myself voting for Trump. Kind of late now, ain't it? Well, he doesn't think so. But the bottom line with what you're seeing him do is, here's a guy, for whatever you think about his sportscasting, which I don't think much of, is reading the lay of the land. That's why I'm showing this to you. This would have been unheard of in 2020 or 2021. Oh no, I hate Trump, hate Trump. Oh no, I hate Trump. Now, I'm seeing this more and more where people are going, ooh, I need to talk about it over here, don't I? Yeah, because the one thing these people all care about, and he understands making $12, $15 million a year on ESPN, I cannot turn off all these people. And if he does do away with taxes, I'm going to be good. And if he succeeds with what he wants to do, where do you want to be in 2028? Not talking about the crap the Democrats want. You want to make sure that you bet on a winner. These people ain't going to win. There's nothing there. Stephen A. is smart enough to see this.
It has to be about getting the job done on behalf of what's in the best interest of the American people, as opposed to yourself, and not engaging in the kind of juvenile tendencies, tweeting all the time and going after people who are really much irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. You do things like that and you show that you're the adult in the room, yeah. I don't think anybody could dismiss Donald Trump at this particular moment in time, not just because of him, but because of what we've seen the Democrats do. We're not falling for it any longer. The American people aren't falling for it any longer. I voted.
What? Did y'all hear that? We ain't falling for it any longer. Who's this we? Think about what he just said. I know some of you don't like Stephen A. Smith. You think of him as a clown, and you're right. But he just said, we aren't falling for it any longer. So what you, in essence, just said is we've woken up. We're not woke. We're woken up. We understand at this point, y'all liars. And that's what I'm bringing this to you so those of you who are white can see what's happening and that you have an opportunity. And for those of you that are black or Hispanic, you can see it's spreading. And this has been one of the Jenga pieces at the base of the Democrat Party. If people are waking up and saying, we're not falling for it anymore, they're in really big trouble. Really big trouble. That's what I want you to grasp from this and look between the lines. That one line he said right there, we're not falling for it any longer. Who's we? How many we's are there? And right now, how many of these we's need to be talked to by us? Hey, how's things going? Oh, not really well. Hey, how's your new job? I just saw it, but start talking to people because it's falling apart right in front of them. We're not falling for it anymore. There's two things with that you have to basically think of. Who's we? And what's happening in the Democrat Party where they're not falling for it, meaning you fell for it before. You were hoodwinked, you were bamboozled, you fell for it. We're not going to fall for it anymore, but we've been falling for it. And nobody wants to be made a fool of. And now people are waking up and going, damn, they played me, didn't they? You like being played? If there's any trolls in here, y'all like being played? You see how people are starting to wake up, people with minds, and like, man, this doesn't feel good. I'm not falling for it anymore. I was played hard.
Democrat, and I got to tell you something right now. I don't like the fact that I did. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't want to hear about, we're about law. We're about a law. Nobody's above the law. Nobody's above the law. But then you go out and you pardon your son and you try to blame everybody else for it. I don't want to hear about defund the police. I don't want to hear about, there should be open borders. I don't want to hear this stuff. And I don't think most of the American people want to hear that.
I'm sorry. That was the entirety of their platform. That's what they did for the last 4 years, is tell us boys can play girls' sports, girls can play deal with it, they can go in your locker room, we're going to bring as many newcomers in, this is a new world order, and now you're saying you ain't falling for it anymore. How in the hell did you ever fall for that? How did you go against your own internal instinct and go, hey man, I'm in sports and this ain't cool. Seeing these people play against each other, this doesn't make any sense. I don't like this. How did you not see that? We all saw it.
We're thinking about the state of affairs that's in. We're not about America only, but being about America and prioritizing what's going on in this nation with the desolate and the disenfranchised and everybody else in between, and looking out for the best interest of what it is for America. That is not a crime for an American politician or a commander-in-chief or a senator or a congressional figure to have that mentality. I want them to have that mentality. So I think about things along those lines. And I'm no longer interested in, nor do I believe any of us should be interested in listening to a bunch of fear-mongering to tell us who we shouldn't vote for. Why don't you come up with a plan that tells us why we should vote for you? That's what I'm interested in. And if
I'm looking at some of the chats while the video's on, and I see people going, no, man, he's grifting, he's this and he's that. He's on Mark Levin's show. I'm sorry, I froze it at that. He's on Mark Levin's show. He's on Mark Levin's, I think it was Saturday night or Sunday night show. Mark Levin. Just let that sink in. let that sink in. One of the most conservative talk show host on Fox News, and he's on that show basically having a mea culpa. Something's going on. The earth is moving.
Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Byron Donald, Marco Rubio, or the host of other Republican candidates coming down the pike. That's the kind of message that they're going to put forth. I'm down for it. I'm open-minded enough to make sure that I entertain that from a policy perspective. That's what I want for the American people. That's what I want for this nation.
That's why we love you, my man. Now, one quick question. I don't have a lot of time left.
Sure.
You get this all the time. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? Kind of a dumb question, but I like it anyway.
I got to tell you something right now. You can never count out Patrick Mahomes, a reigning two-time defending Super Bowl champion. But this guy, Josh Allen, with the Buffalo Bills, the way he's looking right now, he's my leading candidate for league MVP honors. He looks absolutely phenomenal. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the Philadelphia Eagles played the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl and Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills ended up winning a Super Bowl championship. The way this kid is looking, he's looking that special.
I know. And you know, you've got great quarterbacks everywhere, and he's like the standout of the bunch. It's unbelievable. Stephen A., I love your show on ESPN. I love your other shows that you're doing. I'm glad you're stepping out. You're doing other things. You're a very smart guy. And God bless you, my friend.
God bless you.
I let that play to the end because what just happened there was striking. And there's a lesson to be learned. I look at some of the chats and I'm like, y'all not getting it. You really aren't getting it. I'm going to tell you again because you're not. If I could, I'd reach through this camera and pop you upside the head. Wake up. You see, Saturday, was it Saturday? Yeah, Saturday or Sunday, whichever day it was. Charlie Kirk had Cenk Uyghur from the Young Turks on at Turning Point in Arizona. And a bunch of you were like, oh my God, he's talking to this guy and everything else. And they were sitting in two chairs having a conversation. And you're like, I don't trust him. I don't like him. He's a... People were freaking out. Oh, I'm unsubscribing. He's talking to... And now you just saw Mark Levin talking to Stephen A. Smith. What happened at the end of that conversation? Because that's the lesson for America. I saw somebody in here who said he can't even talk to his wife because she's off the she's upset about Kamala Harris. But what did you see at the end of that conversation? In case you missed it, I'm going to tell you. You saw two men from completely different worlds. Completely different perspectives, completely different ideologies. And you saw the virtual analogy of two guys sitting down having a beer. Let's talk politics, blah, 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 Trump, yeah, Kamala. Hey, man, who you got in the Super Bowl? There's more that connects us than divides us.